I have a monologue type deal, right? So my thing is a little quicker than the vast majority of what you heard today. All right, so let's talk about the American voice. Have you heard it? What does it sound like? Does it have a Southern accent or a Brooklyn twist? Because the American voice is supposed to represent the entirety of me and you, our beliefs and stances, our thoughts and expectations, our code of ethics and way of life. Funny, because that would imply that the American voice could sound like me. It can sound like you, like a harmony. But what happens when that harmony becomes dissonant? What happens when you can no longer recognize the American voice? Not because your shouts were lost in transition, or because you failed to harmonize, but because you never spoke. What happens when the results of an election fails to take into account certain people who simply failed to voice their opinion? People who, for some reason or another, failed to join the choir of American voices, who either depended on the votes of their neighbor or who fell into complacency. Complacency. Can you imagine that a section of the American choir was complacent? And now we are unable to recognize the voice we heard in 2008 or the voice we heard in 2012, and unable to realize the voice we could have heard in 2016. Because now the American voice is singing a different note. Because we failed to show up to the recital. And yet the voice we hear will still have to represent the entirety of me and the entirety of you, our beliefs and our stances, our code of ethics and our way of life. It just doesn't sound familiar.